And so the human experience is being more and more willing to feel the highs. And our capacity to feel those highs also increases our capacity to feel the lows. Yes. So by increasing that capacity, our experience as men, as women, only becomes more alive and more fruitful.
I have some questions for you. Hey, brave girl, how you do the things that you do?
Welcome to the Brave Talk Show. Brave women, bold topics, nothing is off the table. In today's episode, we dive deep into men. We have a male guest who's going to sit right over there, and he's going to tell us how to motivate your man. It's a powerful episode, so if you like it as much as we think you will, smash that subscribe button, and you can connect with us on future episodes as well. But first, we need to introduce this lady right here. You may notice things are a little bit different for us. We had something that's never happened to us before, where
the stars did not align today.
This morning we were all getting ready to come, and Robin couldn't come, Vanessa couldn't come. They had crazy things come up with work and life, and Marcela came to the rescue. She was the first person that I thought of. Marcela and I are good friends. She owns a company called Loveless, which I love and highly recommend you pause and go over. We're going to put it in the show notes. And Marcela and I always have really deep conversations. Every time we're together, we skip the small talk, and I think that's why we've connected so well and become such good friends from the very beginning, is because we have really deep conversations. And I knew that she would be wonderful to co-host with us. So there's only three of us today. Plus, we're going to have a guest on. But for now, it's the three of us for our hot topic and stuff. Marcela, will you introduce yourself? Just tell our audience who you are and what you do.
Thank you. Well, I'm thrilled to be here, so thank you for thinking of me. I do love having, just going straight to the deep conversations. I get that from my mother. I am a mother of 4. I have a blended family, so I've been divorced and remarried, and navigating that whole unexpected, not wanted life. I do own a company that my parents started 12 years ago, and that really has it's probably not my dream company. I don't love the making one-of-a-kind things, honestly, but our whole message is to create joy from the flaws, and that's what I feel like has been the theme of my life. And so it's like this daily reminder that, okay, this looks messed up. It's not what we wanted. We're kind of sad that it's not the way we wanted it, but what can we do with this? And that's really the theme of my life. And I'm thrilled to have that company that's such a cool display of physically being able to do that. Wow. And so it's really put me on this crazy journey. I speak a lot about creating joy from the flaws. I speak at religious groups. I speak at women's conferences, and it just kind of creates this amazing conversation of okay, so life didn't go your way. What are you gonna do with it? What are all the pieces? Let's make something amazing. And that's really led to some self-reflection and some self-journey in finding myself. And all of that journey has led to writing a book, which is super surprising to me. So I am in the process of editing it and figuring that out. And it's going to be called Wake Her Up. And it's really just my experiences on finding myself inside myself. Surprisingly enough, right?
Waking up yourself from within you.
Yeah, wake up.
Yeah.
That idea where you have that friend and she's just and you just want to shake her and be like, wake up, let's just do the thing. It's that.
I love it.
It's that. And so I'm still just learning how to get myself out of my way, and
I love it.
Yeah.
Well, perfect show then for you to be on.
I know, it's great.
So, and you must love the show then too, because we just get right into it also.
Yes, seriously. I'm okay, so my mom is the kind of person that you're at the grocery store and you're checking out all your stuff, and she is just letting it all out with the clerk, and you're like, no! But as embarrassing as that was growing up, it has blessed my life drastically to be able to dive into the very deep end of the pool in conversations, and it just develops so much connection with people. So I'm really grateful to my mom that she has taught me to do that.
What an
So.
awesome thing.
Yeah.
Well, we're so glad that you filled in for us.
Well, I'm glad you
We're
have this
so
talk show.
happy. Yes, we're so happy to have you here.
Thank you.
Our hot topic for today is I asked you all to bring your favorite beauty product, and surprise, we actually all brought lipstick.
Isn't that funny?
So funny.
That was funny.
So we're going to tell you our favorite lipstick today. Teresa, you want to go first and tell us what you
Well,
love?
it's interesting first that you had mentioned that we had all done it because I'm actually not really a big lipstick person. I know I'm wearing a big bold color right now, but it was really only to show off the lipstick I'm going to share with you. I'm not a huge lipstick person, but when I do find a good one, and I want to wear it, I want to wear a good one, right? Like that's the thing. So most of the time I'm a big play up the eyes type of person, but every once in a while life calls for a red. And when we went to a gala a couple of months back with Jordan Page, and Jordan Page was actually on an episode that we had a couple of weeks back where she talked with us about finances and so forth. She's amazing. So she had this awesome white, everyone dressed in white gala, and there was a grab bag in there of just fun gifts from local businesses, and this amazing lipstick was in my bag, and it's by a company called Bake Cosmetics, and you actually know
yeah, it's
the
my
owner.
friend Quentin. I love it.
So Quentin's amazing, and her products are amazing. So what I love about it is, first of all, come on, look at this amazing color.
And we've been
So
filming for a while,
Yeah,
and it still
and
looks
it's still
perfect.
on, and it didn't come off on my, my cup of coffee that I've got over here. And that's part of the reason why I don't really like lipsticks is because I don't like having to reapply. I'm kind of half hippie, I just want to in the morning take care of everything, and then that's it. I don't do my nails. I'm pretty simple that way. But this one doesn't come off. It's not like hardcore doesn't come off, but it takes a lot, right? I just feel like it's a shade. Red is one of those weird colors that if you don't get the right shade, your teeth can look yellow. This one, I don't feel like my teeth look yellow at all. The texture is not drying. I used to use lip sense, and I hated the way that it would crust, and I have to always reapply the gloss. I didn't have to do anything with that. So that's why I like it. And I don't really even have very thick lips, but the way that it kind of blends in with your lips, it kind of, I feel, makes them look fuller too. So that's my favorite. So I don't
like a
have a
fire
special
engine
link or anything. It's called, this color is called Cherry on Top. And I don't have an affiliate or anything, so we'll probably just tag Bake Cosmetics.
Let's see if we can get you a code. Let's see. We'll talk
See
to
if we
Quentin.
can get someone a code. Quentin, but I love it, and I'm going to buy, when I'm ready to buy more lipstick, I want to buy all the other colors that I think I would like, including your mauve that you're going to give me.
Love it. Okay, you want to go?
Oh, yes. Okay, so I was also a Lip Sense trier, and I wore that for a very long time because it was the first lipstick. I honestly I don't wear lipstick a lot, and so when they're like, it never comes off, I was like, well, then I would wear that. And so I had all the Lip Sense colors, but the problem is it would last maybe 2, maybe 3 hours, and then I'd get back from my event and look in the mirror and be all cracked and chipped and look
You weren't
horrible.
applying the lip gloss enough.
Apparently not.
But that's the whole point of long-lasting lipstick is that you don't want to have to reapply anything.
Constantly be
right?
checking it,
true.
and then
Set it and go.
try to getting it off was horrible. So anyway, a friend put me onto this Revlon Color Stay Over Time, and it's a dual thing. And I think Maybelline makes one. I was gonna bring that one too, but I couldn't
you
find
wearing it right now?
I am wearing this.
What
No,
color
it's
is
so
it?
neat because it looks with your sweater.
Ultimate Wine.
It's pretty. It really is pretty. It
It's
reminds
funny
me.
because this doesn't look like this, but when I wear it together, it
Yeah.
seems
red orange
okay,
almost.
right?
Well, that's what I was saying. Is when you wear it with that shirt, somehow the shirt kind of brings out a more coral look to it. I imagine it probably kind of changes the color based
Yeah.
on what you're wearing a little bit. But it's one of those classic colors. It reminds me. Do you guys remember Wet n Wild lip liners back in the 90s?
yes.
So when I was in high school, everyone who was anyone wore, it was kind of a weird number, but it was the 666 number. But it wasn't like black or devilish. It was like a raisin color, but it was amazing. And that was back when you wanted a little bit more of like a browner lip liner. But it reminds me a bit of that particular shade. There's a slight brownish, but not
I
enough
love
pink
that
in there.
I don't have to remember my gloss.
You just put it on once and you're good.
Yeah, but I mean, I have it with me.
That's
right?
great.
So anyway, I love it. It stays. I actually fall asleep with it, and it will be on and look totally fine in the morning.
Nice.
That's like, it
You're like a
stays.
1950s housewife where you
I
wake up like looking
and I'm
gorgeous.
like, I just woke up like this. So I love it.
Okay, I just found that out watching a TV show that women would wake up before their husbands to
Yeah.
put on their makeup and do their hair before their husbands.
Was
would.
it that Mabel?
Yes,
The Mabel
I'm like, oh,
show?
hell no. Like,
I know.
There's no way.
I would not. I was
I'm
not
so
meant for the
glad
50s.
I wasn't born in that time
Yeah.
because that's awful.
Do you think people still do that?
I don't
I'm
think
sure
so.
there's some.
Maybe
but
when you're dating, but like once you're married, like come on, this is what you married.
But like we live in this influencer world. I was actually thinking that the other day. I was like, do these girls that live like with their life being like that, do their husbands get to see them undone?
I'm sure.
I'm
I don't
curious.
Know how I don't know. I'm exhausted just thinking about that.
Yeah, it's a lot of work. All right,
Okay,
what was your lipstick?
Mine, I brought like
Because you're not a big lipstick person either,
No,
right?
I'm not. And
not.
actually, looking
That's
on
funny.
the monitors, it looks like I don't have any lipstick on at all because I'm not wearing a bright red like you guys. I wish we could zoom in.
She is wearing
It
a
looks
very lovely
good.
nude.
I like it.
I don't do reds because I have such thin lips that I feel like it shows just how thin my lips are.
Okay, so the trick around that is you get a nude lip liner and you go right around the top part of your lip with the nude and you use that as a base and then you can put the
Then you
color
put the
on
red over
top
top?
and it totally works.
I need
Okay,
that.
next time I wear a red dress, I'm trying that.
I feel like the same way, like my lips just kind of blend into my face.
Yeah,
like I don't
such
have a line.
thin lips. Okay, so mine is by Revlon. It's Color Stay, and I bought it. I brought lots of them. I have them in all colors. There's a couple things. I hate the feel of lipstick. I hate the feel of lip gloss. Like
You don't like the slimy?
No, I can't handle the sticky. I can't handle the slimy. I cannot handle it.
Funny, I like love it. I love.
Yeah, I need a
putting
little
the gloss
moisture on
on.
the.
No,
yeah.
I don't want to feel anything. And I want to
You're on the
put
Brave
it on,
Talk show, and you're like, I want to feel nothing.
on my lips.
There's a lot of feeling going on over there anyway.
I just want to put it on and then not worry about it. I don't want to be, I just don't want to be high maintenance. I don't want to have to be like, oh, is my lipstick? Because honestly, my lips are like blue now. I'm 37 years old and all my color is gone out of my lips. And I'm like, oh, I look dead when I don't have lipstick on. So I know I need it.
Right.
But I don't want to be pulling it out and putting my mirror on and fixing it all the time. And so when I found these, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can eat with it. I literally just put it on before I leave the house and it stays on. Like I don't have to keep reapplying it. It's amazing.
I love
So we'll put it in the show notes, all of our 3 kinds. I have lots of, I usually wear a nude or an orange is about as red as I get.
Yeah.
But love it.
So what's the
so
brand
good.
and which one's your favorite color?
Revlon Color Stay, and the color that I wear
Isn't
the
that what yours
most.
is?
Yeah, it's the same.
But
It's
yours is
just
like a
mine's
liquid.
glossy.
Okay.
Mine comes with a gloss.
So mine's just the stick version.
So
Yours
go
is like
Revlon.
Yeah, Revlon
Nailed
did it.
it.
Yeah.
The color that I'm wearing right now is Socialite, and it's just this really great nude, like almost nude mauve-ish color that I feel like goes with everything that
Yeah.
I wear. And then if I want to spice it up, I'll use one of these other colors that are a little more bold. But this is kind of my go-to.
That's great. Revlon needs to get on the affiliate link bandwagon too,
Right?
so that we can fund this show
Link
with all
that.
of our tips.
That'd be awesome.
Well, thanks for bringing your favorite lipsticks, ladies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Today we have special guest Glen Lovelace. He is a certified life coach, and he is here to help us understand men. He's been married for 17 years. He has 6 kids. He actually won the bodybuilding.com transformation in 2017, which included a big check of $100,000. He's going to have to tell us more about that. He's coached over 3,000 clients in 14 years, and he specializes in coaching men whose wives have transformed from their own coaching. So Glen, welcome. It's so good to have you here today.
I'm excited. This is fun.
So one thing that we just need to preface this about, we've been sitting here for the last 30 minutes getting our sound check and everything done, and we've already filmed a whole episode just sitting here talking.
Totally.
So we are really excited to get into this conversation and to share it with all of you guys.
Yeah, one of the things I think we were even like thinking about was what's the words for this episode, because it's just so much. And so we were talking about really it's like motivating our husband, because it seems like a lot of who you help are women who have gone through some sort of transformation and are doing really well. And I know a lot of our audience, you guys are on a journey as well, right? Like in I think self-help, like a lot of women, we're really more inclined, I think, to read those self-help books and want to improve ourselves. And so oftentimes I think we can go through those more often than what we see men typically do. And I know I'm in the coaching community, and I see so many of these just like powerful entrepreneurial women. They've unpacked all of their issues. They're doing this, they're doing that, and there can be like oftentimes this misalignment with where they're at in their life and in their journey, and where their husbands are at. And then how do you bridge that gap? How do you align with your husband if he's on a different path than you?
Right.
You know?
So tell us how you got into it first, and then
Sure.
let's go to Teresa's question.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So my wife does hair, so I've been around a salon for 20 years almost. So I've popped in, got to know her friends and clients, and had all kinds of conversations. So from my mind, I'm like, wow, there's a lot going on. Not only in just my marriage and the relationships I've watched over the years, but in all these gals too. So then my degree at BYU was in the School of Family Life. And I picked that because I was a quitter. I wanted the fastest way out. And statistics was number one, this was number two. So had I been single, I would have really been stumbling on quite a dating pool.
Yeah, I was gonna say mostly
Yeah.
women, right?
Yeah, interior design, cooking. But we did cover things like human psychology, marriage, family, some of those sciences. And it was really good for me, but I was like kind of embarrassed that this was my degree and I spent all this time and money on it. And I was going to go to my grave just saying I have a general science degree from BYU. And then enter the life coach school. If you're familiar with that, it's thousands of women and like 12 guys. So again, the odds are pretty crazy. So some of my background is just my own mess. Like coming into a marriage where I didn't know how to feel anything. I mean, my vocabulary emotionally was very limited. And then being married to a gal who was very energetic and elevated and expressive and passionate. These are all my safe words, okay? And I just didn't know how to handle it. So, so I can see where men are at. And when we talk about bridging the gap to, you know, what do men want to learn about? Well, they want to be healthier and stronger. They want to make more money. So what do we have to do to do that? And it's typically grind, and go. And we suppress a lot of our emotions. And then we don't know how to communicate them. And then these gals, they're bringing all those emotions out. And they're talking about it.
They want to talk about it.
They want to talk about it. And husbands come home and they want to turn on Seinfeld. I mean, if that ages me. You know.
I love Seinfeld.
Yeah, me too.
So I'm
It's
right
great.
there with you.
Yeah, all the answering machines and missing each other. It's awesome. But yeah, that's kind of the bridge that I'm trying to build is, okay, these gals are doing amazing things and you guys are totally capable of doing it. And how do we come together and support each other and build this amazing life together without leaving each other behind and disconnecting and getting lost? So.
And how many years have you been doing this?
Well, it's kind of morphed over the years. So I started coaching eBay, Amazon, Shopify, stores online, internet marketing. And I did that because I was kind of a hustler in college. I'd buy trucks and motorcycles, and I'd buy toys I couldn't afford, and then I would sell them. And one of my buddies from high school came to me. He's like, man, you make side hustle money online. Why don't you come work for us? We're building this program out. And I'm like, cool. Like, I didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up. And so that kind of got me into the coaching space, and I was there for a little over 10 years doing 2 and 3 other jobs, just picking interests and quitting and lots of things. So when I won the challenge with bodybuilding.com, I had a few rock bottom points where I had lost a house in a lawsuit, and right in the 07, 08 time I just bought really high and was all in and went for it, and it didn't go my way. And you know, I was pretty bankrupt emotionally and mentally and relationally and spiritually, all the things. And then I lost a job. And then all along, me and my wife, she's having an amazing marriage, by the way, and I'm completely miserable. And I'm a happy guy, like I'm positive, but I kind of had this idea that I could make her happy. And that was my job. And so if we were, at odds hourly or daily, I was making it mean that I wasn't good at handling this and she was never going to be happy. And I was smart enough at the time to know that if I cheat on her or I divorce her, I'm going to feel terrible. And that's not what I want to do. And I had opportunities to do that, which is kind of freaky. It really tests you as a man. And I eventually found a gun in my hand on Christmas Eve. Like, I'm going to hurt myself so I can hurt her, which is really messed up. Like, this is me going back and how did I get to this point? And I went back to the gym and fitness, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to be selfish. I'm going to take care of me. I'm going to hope that she stays in this marriage, but if she needs to go, there's the door. But if I can get myself back and find myself, who knows? And the gym became that avenue. I went from injuries to dad bod to winning $100,000. And now people are coming to me like, how did you do this? And so I helped that community for about a year for free, and then nobody was getting results, so I started charging, and then enter life coach and all that other things. And it's like, wow, I don't really want to be the health guy, and I found a problem that I know I can fix, and that's kind of mending this gap between husbands and wives, men and women. So
it sounds like you went on a journey that ultimately led to where you feel like called in your own life, and that led to your own self-confidence and self-worth. How did that translate into your marriage? Because you weren't happy with your marriage prior to that. Did it naturally improve your marriage? What happened with that?
My marriage has been the best thing for me. When we met, I was literally told, I wasn't even dating Amber at the time. I was told by God, you're supposed to marry her. I was folding laundry at 8 a.m, and it came over me. And my prayer is always like, God, I'm going to do this, and if I get off track, just let me know. Otherwise, I'll be over here, like, playing in the dirt, And he hit me with it, and I was like, nah. It came again, and I'm like, really?
Guess I should go meet her.
Yeah, and then again, well, we had dated.
Oh.
Well, dated. We didn't tell anyone we're just friends. We hang out. And she's like, I love you. What are we? And I'm like, nothing. Good luck. We'll stay in touch. And she moved home. I'm really giving the dude macho version, right? But yeah, she moved away, and she called me one day. She's kind of like nervous and scared. She's like, Glenn, I was on this date, and I lost a bet. I had to kiss this guy. And I just started laughing. She's like, why are you so chill about this? I'm like, I've kissed a bunch of girls at work. And anyway, we just had a really fun, open, and also trusting relationship. But that's kind of what made it special for me, is like I could really just be myself and lay it all out there. But folding laundry, God hits me with this, you're supposed to marry her. And she's on her way to Utah for the 4th of July, and I proposed to her out of the blue. And it was really exciting, right? Super exciting.
She accept right away?
Oh, yeah.
I love it.
Yep. And that was an anchoring moment to this relationship that allowed me to hang on when I couldn't hang on anymore. Amber is just so rock solid, and she's just forged me into who I am, and I just can't be more appreciative of that. And so it's like 17 years of a mess has now turned into this amazing business. And like you said, it's a literal call on my life, because there's easier ways to make money. Like I can coach guys on fitness and making money all day and help them get results all day long. But it's like, this is really what I'm supposed to do, and I'm really, really good at it. And I can do the other stuff too, and that's kind of what makes my business tick right now. But yeah.
I want to talk about Amber for a minute.
Yeah, let's do it.
So she's probably like a lot of our audience and us, where we see our husbands struggle. and we're like, what can we do to kind of wake him up, right?
Sure.
How can we get him to thrive in life? Because we love our husbands, right?
And we see
want
so much
so
that they
much
could-
potential.
yeah.
We want them, and we know what they can achieve, what they can become, and we're like, just bring it
You're
out, and
right
we can do.
there.
Yeah, you're so close. Just come on. And we often want to take their arm and like, let me show you what
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
do. Let
Or
me
their
point you in the
ear.
books.
I found this book.
Yes.
You should read it, right?
Right.
But I love what you said about your story is that it seems like Amber was just very patient with you. And maybe
camera
not,
do I
maybe
look
she
at?
had some words for you.
Right.
But she didn't give up on you. She was your rock, and she continued to live her life at a high level.
Absolutely.
And she didn't downplay her life for you.
Nope.
She didn't stop doing anything for you. And you eventually had your awakening where you came to. And we've been
Right.
talking about this a lot as far as Marcela is very feminist. Right, Marcela, you would say that?
I'm coming to that, yes.
But I think that's one of the key things is that we can't drag our husbands along to live a life that we think they should live. They have to come to that on their own. So, Glenn, how do we as wives, what do husbands need from us to reach that potential without handing them all these books? Like before we started, you mentioned about you gave your wife a book. Tell us about that story.
Oh, wow, yeah. So it was 2006. We were moving to Seattle to do summer sales. And my dad listened to Dr. Laura Schlesinger, and I would listen in too. And I'm like,
She's amazing.
This chick knows her stuff. And I'm having these problems and not very, adequate in how to explain, hey, I need you to change so I can be happy. Like that's really what was going on in my brain at the time. And so a gal at work was reading the book. She was all excited about it. She was engaged, and she's like highlighting it. I'm like, what in the world? Like
That's the
there's girls
trick.
out
She
there
was
like this?
engaged. She wasn't married.
Yeah, she didn't. She wasn't stuck yet, or whatever the term was. But so we're in Seattle, and I'm like, I'll just order the book. I've heard it's great. I haven't read it, and yeah, it was really, really, really bad.
Well, and I think a lot of women can relate, made the same mistake as you. Is like when we give a book to our spouse, that's really about calling them out and correcting their behavior. And we give it to them, even if we meant it with the greatest intentions,
Right.
it can come off in a way that's like, I'm not good enough, you want me to change. And it can elicit a whole lot of different responses depending on the personality of your spouse.
Absolutely.
Your wife didn't appreciate it. This book, by the way, I love this book. So for any women, no man is telling you to read this, A Woman to a Woman. I believe it's called, it's been a long time since I read it, but How to Feed and like Nourish Your Husband or something like
Proper
that.
care and
Proper
feeding
care
of
and
a
feeding,
husband
and
or
yes. And you can
something.
follow Dr. Laura on Instagram, but I'm gonna let you know, like warning you guys right now, like she calls you out. I called her like 12 years ago. No,
Like on her
15 years
radio
ago.
show?
I was not married yet. I was living with my my ex-boyfriend, and I'd called her to be like, he doesn't want to marry me, and we have his kid together, and what do I do? And she's just like, what are you doing shacking up with your, like, of course he's not gonna marry you when you already gave him everything, and anyway, it changed my life. But she'll call you out, and so if you want that, talk to her.
Sure.
But your wife, you giving it to her, no. And if any woman don't give your husband a book. Okay, so
Sure.
what should we do instead? Don't give our husbands books.
So my wife got into coaching with Jody Moore. A friend, a cousin, podcasts were just piling in, and she started listening, and she's like, wow, this stuff's actually pretty good. And she started sending me stuff. Now, if you know Jody Moore, she's amazing, but I'm like, this is bull crap. Like, this is ridiculous. It was annoying. But look at the audience she's talking to. LDS moms who want to stop yelling at their kids. And she does way more than that now, but that's kind of how she started. And so Amber's sending me podcast clips, tagging me and stuff, giving me access to her account. And I didn't really try. I'll just be honest. It was like, ooh, like that feels funny. What's going on? And so I think you just need to continue inviting. My number one tip for gals is, what if you inspired your husband by the results you're getting in your life? Like, for example, if you're in a coaching space, you're getting coached, you're in a mastermind, whatever it is, what if you made the results you're getting in your life absolutely undeniable that this is working for you. And whether it's money, health, how you treat him, the adventurous life you're living with your friends, you're saying yes to everything, and you're like, dude, I wish you would come along. And the funnest analogy I have for you is gals are out deep sea diving, and they're swimming with sharks, which sounds really fun and scary. And they're swimming with dolphins, which all girls want to swim with dolphins, apparently. And
Not me, just for the record.
not me. And it's just this roller coaster, up and down, facing everything, right? Life. And you look for him, and where's he at? He's on the beach. He's comfortable. And I found that there's maybe two types of men, and then all of them in between. But one of them is he's tried a lot, he's failed, he's down and out, and he's just going to play safe and secure, right? It just hurts too bad to come out of the cave and face the things. And then the second guy, he's worked his fingers through the ground, providing. He's got a beautiful house, a beautiful family, a new truck, he's got some toys, and he's ready to be comfortable and just chill out. And, you know, I think men like that, they lose their drive, they get the dad bod, they're not being pushed into discomfort. And that's what a lot of your audience is probably doing, is like, okay, I wanna feel this. And so inspire them by the results you're getting.
So some of my experience has been, you know, in my first marriage, he was a very educated person and law degree and doing lots of big things. And I started thriving, having my own business, wanting my own money, just 'cause. Not because it wasn't enough, just 'cause that's who I am. And without knowing it, my thriving was making him feel very small. And that ended up being part of why our marriage ended. And so now I'm in a new marriage. We've been married for 11 years, and we are good friends, and we are supportive of one another, but he is a very not motivated person, and I get very freaked out that one day he'll just be like, blah, like this isn't working, and you make me small. But one thing,
because of your triggers from your previous
from what has happened before, right? Like if they're not saying anything, then it must be bad.
You're outgrowing him.
Yeah, and it does feel like that. And so I've been very open about my feelings towards that, and I say, like, I'm afraid that we're going to start talking a different language. You know, I want to make sure that we're producing a similar life, or at least on the same page. And one of the things, I just kind of kept saying that this is important to me. I want to be with you. I want to be here with you, and both of us be thriving. And one of the things that has kind of worked recently, without me really needing it to work, I just said, look, we need to come to terms with how we're raising our family, as far as what are the values that we're teaching our children. You know, if it's not in this religion, or if it's not in my religion, then what are we teaching our children? And maybe if we both listen to this book that is non-this and non-that, maybe we can come to an agreement on some of these values. And surprisingly, he called me one day and he's like, I'm listening to this book, it's pretty good. And I was like, what?
I love it.
So now we have this amazing conversation, you know, that I never was like, I need to fix you. It just was like, this is what I'm really hoping that we can come to together. It had really nothing to do with fixing him.
What I love about what you did is I think that it was really respectful to your husband. And I think that oftentimes when we are on a different page, we don't mean to, but I think sometimes we can come off disrespectful, like my way is the better way kind of a thing. But what you did was you were willing to empty yourself and your faith and say, okay, let's try this thing where I'm going to have to get uncomfortable too. And I think that's probably what that big difference was. It's interesting that you say that, because my husband and I actually kind of been flipped, where he's been diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and that opens up a whole lot of doors with self-growth and healing, because you got to like unpack a lot of stuff. So he's been on this like journey in his own, you know, who he is and why am I here. And I used to be the one in the relationship who was the disciplined one, who was like doing all the things, and we kind of switched roles, where, you know, he's been showing all this growth, and he's the most disciplined man I've ever met. And I have kind of slipped into this over the last year and a half a little bit, just not as motivated. And he's been frustrated with me too. But I relate in a sense to that spouse that's just kind of feeling unmotivated. There's nothing that you can do, because the more that you try to tell me, of what I need to do and what I'm doing wrong and why my life would be so much better if I just did this, this, and this, it I don't know why, but the human psyche, that just doesn't work. But he started reading this book, and it was called The Body Keeps the Score. And he was like, this book is just amazing. I'm going through all this. I'm just really learning a lot about why I am the way I am and my own issues. And he was kind of humbling himself a bit too. Like, even though he's so motivated, but like where he's kind of come off a bit judgmental towards me and so forth. And I'm like, I need to check out this book that he's reading. So then I started reading the book, and now I'm like, oh my gosh, I am helping realize where I need to make some changes. But it was never, him telling me, right? So now we're both reading this book, and now guess what? I'm starting to get motivated because I'm like seeing where I have, where things have happened in my own life that have led me to where I'm at. And it's a completely different journey than my husband's. But now we're becoming more aligned. So I love this idea of reading a book together, but the art of like not, hey, you should read this book, I'm reading it, and we should read it together because you need to change, right? Like,
Yeah.
We did that with, there's a book on Audible by Oprah, and it's called What Happened to You? And I just started talking to my husband about it just in conversation, where I'm like, this book is amazing. Like, it started, just telling my husband about it. And then he went on a work trip and had lots of hours in the car, and he's like, I listened to your Oprah book. I'm like, yes! Like, I never said, like, you should listen to this book.
Right.
It was just like me telling him things that I found fascinating about it. And then when he was ready, he took the bait and listened to it. And then it created that connection between us. But so let me recap, Glenn, what you're telling us women can do. We can motivate ourselves, right? We can take care of us just like you learned to take care of yourself. And that's what started your transformation, is you're like, I'm going to be selfish. I'm going to start, I know, selfish. I'm going to start taking care of me, which we all know is true. Like, you have to take care of yourself in order to take care of other people, right? And then just keep inviting your husband. Keep inviting him. Talk about things that are going well for you. Live your life. Thrive in your life. And then when he is ready, he will step up and he'll do what fits for him, whether it's reading a book or listening to it on Audible, or whether it's going to the gym or whatever it is. When he's ready, because you've been making those invitations and because you've been showing him by example.
Or not. See, that's where I had to get to. Like, I don't do things so that my husband will eventually do something.
Right,
That's
right.
true.
Somebody said
That's
something to me that changed my entire view of him and my marriage, and quite frankly, everybody else. But they said, other people are not a messed up version of you. Because the way my husband does Saturdays, our whole marriage, I was like, that's wrong. How you do Saturdays, that's not correct. How could you possibly feel okay about how you do Saturday? How can you possibly actually be happy sleeping in? That's not okay. We're going to make sure that we do it this way so that you're doing it right, so that you can be happy. It never dawned on me that, like, him doing Saturday is just one example. This other way that would make me miserable could possibly make him happy. And once I respected the fact that other people, my husband specifically, can do life differently and be happy in a way that wouldn't make me happy, did I get to a point where I'm allowed my happiness, and so is he. And I will do what makes me happy. And now when I share a book with him, it's because I just want to share my book with him that I like. I'll be like, this podcast, this was awesome. I just want to share it, not so that he'll listen to it or read
think
it.
that's a good point.
And that has created a friendship, and that's created a respect. And quite frankly, it's made a marriage that I love being in.
I think that's
And I'm not his mom. I tell him that all the time. Like,
Yeah.
and they don't want your
and he
mom.
doesn't
You
want you
should
to be
call
his
your mom. I'm not your mom. I'm not going to pull your butt out of bed.
Well,
You're
and
going to have to do that.
I think that goes with the motivation factor. Like, you shouldn't be the best you in order just to drag your husband
Yes.
along, right?
It's not a
Or-
tit for tat. And
no,
and
you can't keep score.
No, you
You
can't.
can't be like, well, I've been working out for 2 years and did this triathlon, and so
Right.
you should, like,
I got
how
you a
come
gym
it's not
membership.
rubbing
Go
you
do
up?
it. Yeah.
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 You shouldn't do anything in hopes that it gets some certain
Yeah.
result. You just do it for you, and
Yeah.
then eventually
Are there
he may
men,
or may not.
Yeah, are there men that need us to be like a mom? Like, do we need to pull them out of bed?
Well, I think you're just
Where do we go with that?
you're just supporting behavior that you don't want
Right.
at that point. So it's kind of a good segue to what tools and what languages are you both adopting and agreeing to. So, early on in when I was married, I heard this phrase tribal language, where I'm coming from a tribe, she's coming from a tribe, and we're not going to agree what we should do on Saturdays. But together, we've got to challenge each other and say, well, football all day? Like, really? Or working in the yard all day? Really? And so it becomes a negotiation. It becomes communication. It becomes, hey, I'm going to be mad about this, and that's okay. And I'm going to let you be happy about that, but I don't like it, and I don't have to like it. And that's been really hard for me because of what I make it mean when my wife is upset. Trying to control her emotions for good or for bad because it makes me uncomfortable, so to speak.
Oh man, you're hitting some trigger points.
Totally.
with me
I'm a
over here.
codependent,
Yeah.
so I totally get this right now.
Yeah.
So enter the space of coaching. There's a tool called the model, and the model teaches you, it's very logical for men. At first, they're going to resist it because their thoughts are producing how they feel, and thoughts are producing the results they're getting for good or for bad. So the power of the space I'm in is there's a community of thousands of women who have already accepted that this is universal truth, almost from God, right? And our minds are powerful. What we will look for and ask, we'll find it, for good, bad, and ugly, right? So if we can get men on board in the communities I'm running around in, now they're speaking the same language. So last summer I'm coaching a gentleman whose wife has been in therapy and all kinds of programs. Like, she loves being uncomfortable. Like, she just wants to
Be
be.
a great person for our show.
Yeah, honestly, you should have her on. She's amazing. But she just wants to be torn apart all the time. And he's like this people-pleasing puppy dog who goes to work and then comes home and he's ready to say, yes, ma'am, let's go, like whatever, and that's great. But it reached a tipping point where he wasn't growing at all. He's just on the beach. And she kind of gave him an ultimatum where it's like, I don't care what you do, you just need to make some freaking progress. And I love Tony Robbins' Progress is Happiness. I've altered it a little bit. Progress creates happiness. I want to be the creator of my life. And the goal is not to be happy all the time, but if I can make day-to-day incremental progress, I can find a lot of joy in that, even if there's a lot going on. So enter this gentleman. He's like, okay, coaching for men, whatever he searched, right? How to be a man, let's go alpha, whatever. I don't know what he searched.
Grow a beard.
Yeah,
right?
grow a beard, stop showering and scratch your leg. And so he goes and he does this program, and he's like, Glenn, I don't know why, but it's getting worse. And I'm like, well, you're learning German, she already speaks French. You do not speak the same language, even though you're excited about the growth that you're having. You're happier than you have been because you're experiencing progress, but it doesn't align. It's actually causing more friction because you sound like an idiot to her. And honestly, they're not teaching you things that she really appreciates. And I'm not going to get into those types of details, but the language barrier there was a problem. And all men need is like simple analogies that discomfort, for example, in the gym, like if I can't walk tomorrow because of leg day,
You get a good workout.
yeah, we earned it. But when I argue with my wife for an hour or 2 weeks, completely, it's total failure. Like, we're probably getting divorced or whatever. But now I look at it as, okay, I got my gym bag, I got my tools, I got my rules of engagement, I got the things I'm going to do and I'm not going to do. I'm going to give her space. I'm going to let her be mad. In fact, I've changed my thinking. It's actually hot when she's hot. rather than I'm being disrespected because she's yelling at me and nobody disrespects me. Or I'm going to walk away so I don't push you through that wall. To, okay, like, I'm going to feel all of it. Like, bring on the failure, because I like failure in the gym. I just don't like the discomfort in a difficult conversation. So we build bridges for these guys, give them the tools that are really simple. And if guys and gals, men, women, husband, wives are playing by those same set of rules, you can not so much hold each other to it, but you can have a new foundation. Like this book is a new foundation. It's like, hey, we have a common goal and we're going to work towards this. So, you know, going on a date and being like, hey, you're going to pick out a book, I'm going to pick out a book, we're going to start our little couple book club. And once a week, I do this with clients. Like you brought up, like one of the actions that you guys can do is find a book that you both want to discover. And then I call it go on old people walks. If your kids are old enough, at night, rain, sunshine, snow, you put your clothes on and you go for a walk and you hold hands and you do all the things that you did when you were dating and courting and you just talk. And you talk about the book. If you have nothing else to talk about, like you have to build a new house with this guy, you have to start a new foundation, and some of these tools and books and things can kind of get that going.
Yeah, I love that. One of the things you had said earlier was about respect, and you know, what you're talking about is this coming onto the same language, right? And changing the language that there's some commonality. Can you give an example?
Oh yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm talking to a friend and his wife. They weren't clients, but he approached me. He's like, Glenn, I think I'm getting divorced. And for some reason, I just felt like you were the guy that could help me. I said, okay, cool. Like, I'm friends with both of you. Like, let's see how this goes. And the problem with the language is they did not define pornography, for example, the same. So I'm like, hey, dude, what is pornography? And he's like this, and she's over there.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, what does a problem with pornography look like? And he says, and she's like they are not,
Definitions were
the
so
definitions were so off base. If I look at it once a week, that's okay. If you're looking at it in the last 12 months, it's a problem for me. So that's why the language, how we define terms, letting people have their opinion on what a Saturday looks like, but then also expressing, well, I kind of have a problem with that still. So it's okay. But yeah, that language barrier is crucial. And sometimes you need someone in the middle to do it. But someone's got to take that lead role where they try to stay neutral. And that's kind of a hard hat to wear.
Yeah. I love what you mentioned about being able to be just honest about, like, that frustrates me. And being okay with, yeah, so I'm going to be mad at you for that. Or you could be mad at me, and not allowing that to, like, wreck the marriage. Like, it's okay. It's okay. And one of the things that I've been learning is oftentimes if I'm irritated by my husband in some way, if he's done something that's triggered me in some way or really just frustrating me, that's something for me to actually start listening to as, okay, obviously I can't fix him or change him, but what does that help me recognize, like, within myself, what's going on?
Yeah.
Why am I triggered by that? Why is that so frustrating? Where is something that I can be working on within myself to deal with it? It doesn't change the problem, right? The problem's still there, but what can it help me better understand about why I'm frustrated and how I can just move forward with that? And I'm learning also that I oftentimes, if my husband is upset with me, like I want to like not have him be upset with me. And I might manipulate the situation to control his emotions, good or bad, as you had mentioned. But now being okay with, okay, so you're mad at me. Okay. Well, and then just knowing, was I respectful? You know, was I loving? Can I still bless him in some way and let him be mad at me? And that's okay. It's okay.
For men, I've called that rules of engagement. Like, I love using tactical terms, tactical awareness, all the things. And so rules of engagements are things I'm going to do and I'm not going to do. So if I have these rules, when I go into a heated discussion, I can come out on the other side and be at least proud of myself that I didn't name call, I didn't yell back, I didn't put holes in the wall, I didn't leave, I didn't do all these things, and these are the things I did do. So regardless of the outcome, I can build confidence off of that. And yeah, there is a little bit of trying to avoid their reactions and emotions that you kind of have to deal with and pick apart, but you can refine that list as you go. You're like, oh, don't say that word.
That's a trigger.
You know what a trigger word
yeah,
is, right?
we were in Mexico a month ago, and I'm like, wow, you're really prickly right now. Boom, eruption.
Oh, yeah. She was
And-
already feeling self-conscious about being prickly.
Yeah, and I thought I picked a pretty cute word, like, but it wasn't.
No.
But back to the human experience and feeling all the feelings of life and facing opposition. Where men could do a lot of work is realizing that they're kind of in this wavelength where they want to keep everything pretty even keel, right? Mm-hmm. They don't want to feel too much because it starts to get uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And so I like using the analogy of the roller coaster. So I don't know if you have a favorite lagoon ride. The scarier, the better. You're sweating in line, you're all anxious, you think you might throw up, and you drop and you do all the things, and you're looking at your friend and he's passed out. Like, it's just awesome. And so the human experience is being more and more willing to feel the highs. And our capacity to feel those highs also increases our capacity to feel the lows. Yes. So by increasing that capacity, our experience as men, as women, only becomes more alive and more fruitful. So if I'm letting you feel all the things and you're letting me feel all the things and our wavelengths are slightly different, that's great, that's okay. But on the other side of all the discomfort is where all the good growth and progress and fruit and everything is, but we're not willing to feel. And so if the worst thing we're going to do is feel some emotions, and then once we come to terms with that, it's like, I actually want to feel like I'm going to throw up all day today. Not because I'm like pregnant and ready to give birth, but because I know on the other side of that, I've faced all the things that have kept me in the box and that are holding me back. And when we bring that to the marriage, it just gets really exciting.
Mm-hmm. Well, and when you experience that together, you realize we survived that. We're riding this together. My husband and I went to a therapy session just a few weeks ago. It was the day after, thank goodness, after something had triggered me into a very horrible, like PTSD situation, none like we had ever had. I mean, it was really surprising, but we went to this therapy session and we talked about things that we've never talked about that happened the first year of our marriage that like you said, like we were just like, it's fine. Like that was then. Like I didn't want to express my feelings. He didn't want to express her because we were so afraid of that low. And what's interesting is nothing actually got resolved during that therapy session. I said all my things and he said all of his things, like all of it. And I was even like, how does this end? Right? Like, how do we walk out of here?
How do we tie this with a bow?
Like, there's no fix to this. And that was it. We walked out and we were like this. I mean, we were like arm in arm, like didn't even want to like separate ourselves to get in the car. Like it was a whole new level of connection. Nothing was fixed, but all of a sudden we had ridden that low together. And it's like getting off a ride where we're like, that was it, whether it's a high or a low, you're riding together. If you're together, it's a thrill. And it was like, we're still here and we're for real now. And we just rode that together and like, good job us.
I love that. It makes me, you know, I think of these couples that sometimes you meet and you look at them and it's like, they never fight. They either brag that they never fight or you know them well enough to like, they never fight. And I'm wondering like, there's gotta be, isn't your marriage worth fighting for? Like,
right,
you know, and what are they holding in and not dealing with because they're so afraid of the discomfort of change, right? And of dealing with it that I wonder like, yeah, they might make it to their 50th or 60th anniversary, but when they kiss each other that day in front of everybody, like, will there be any emotion in that because they like just kept everything, you know, to themselves and never actually grew? I think that that's so inspiring and just showing like it doesn't change the problem, but you're growing together and you're being honest with the discomfort. And to me, I mean, that's how you're going to fall more in love. There's going to be more unity because you've been through something together.
Well, you're
right?
both there. Like
Yeah.
we were talking before how in my first marriage, I was there to support him and support him and support him and be selfless and giving and giving. And if he came home with a bad day, I was like, how do I fix it? And I either would go into fix it mode, or I'd be like, you don't have the right to have a bad day because look at all these things that I've done. Like, I have built this beautiful home and decorated and watched your children and made you this meal. Like, you don't have the right, or you don't appreciate me. I would go into any of these feelings. And in the end, looking back at that, I realized we were not both playing. It's like watching someone play tennis all by themselves, and I was just standing there being like, can I get you a ball? I was so scared to play the game and wondering, why isn't this working, when I wasn't willing to pick up a racket and also play. I was just there to give him water and then wondering, like, why isn't this working? But in my marriage now, we're both players. I'm all of me. I am all of me. And he plays along, right? Like, we're both playing, and that is a much better situation to be in. I'm not half of me.
Yeah.
I'm a whole player.
I love that.
So Glenn, what do men need? We talked about this before we started filming. What do men want, I guess, or what do men
You said
need?
there were like 3 things.
Yeah, it was a pretty random list, but it's what they think they want. How about that?
Let's do it.
Men think they want to be fed, cuddled, and appreciated. And we're kind of getting into love languages a little bit, right? And the whole argument I have with love languages is happy wife, happy life. Like, if I'm playing into love languages, I can't guarantee her happiness 100% of the time. And so it makes it hard to want to play that game. And so, again, back to couples playing by the same set of rules. It's like, I'm going to do what I need to do, and I want you to do what you need to do. And then I kind of want to come on your side and give you all the things that help you feel loved. But because I want to.
Not to get something back.
Not tricks for treats. You're not a dog, dude. Like, that's the analogy I have for me. And so it's back to, wow, it's so sexy when you do the dishes. Husband hears that. He thinks, it's on today, and then it doesn't. She was just expressing, wow, it's really good to see you helping me out. And then it doesn't happen, and he's got all these expectations, right? And it's like, no, you have to do the dishes because you feel good doing it. And then the byproduct is she feels seen, she feels heard, she feels appreciated. And, again, I don't want your audience to think Glenn knows everything. Like, I'm still working on all of this, by the way. And so when it comes to the dishes, it's like, I'm doing it because I want to. And it feels really good to be clean about why I'm doing the dishes with zero expectations. And again, who's to say that's her job to make sure the dishes get done? Like, that's a pretty eye-opening thing for a dude to be like, well, why are there gender roles and assignments that we haven't even talked about? Like there's a lot of things. And again,
It's a whole segment.
it is. And there's kind of a caveat to that if men knew, it's like, well, why am I the provider?
It's true. It goes both ways.
It could go both ways. We're just not smart enough to play that game yet. And so I don't want to give away the secret card, but it's like, we should be having these challenging conversations and having fun and connecting and building our own tribal language together. Like, what's really going to work for you and me, and let's consciously make a decision about how we're going to come together. And guess what? My family, your family, they're not going to like these rules all of the time. But as long as you and I are on the same page and connecting, it's okay. Like, it's totally okay. They don't have to understand every little thing about what we're doing, and then your parents can do the same, and it's awesome.
Yeah. I think when you do that, when you go that route, it can help us see where we also need to grow too. For example, my husband can tend to yell, right, when he's frustrated, especially if he feels like he can't control the situation, can't control me, because I'm a rebellious woman. No, so he's been prone to yell, and he's been working on that, right? And I've been one to often blame his yelling for why I am why this or that. It's like, well, if you didn't yell at me and you had just said it in a nice way, then I would have done this or that, right? But because you yell, that's why this is the problem. And this has been going on for like 12 years.
It's a new thing.
Right. Well, we're coming through some major breakthroughs, and it just reminds me of what he's saying here. So the other day, he's been really working on not yelling, right? And so the other day, he had said some things, I don't remember what the topic was, but I didn't do the thing, or I didn't change, whatever it was. I don't remember all the details, but I didn't respond to the way that he wanted. And he got a little upset, and he said, here I am. He's like, I'm trying so hard. Like, I didn't yell at you. I asked you kindly. I was respectful like this, and yet you still. And I sat there for a second, and I realized, I'm like, wow, you're right. Like, I have very quickly often blamed your yelling for why this or why that. And now here you are not yelling, and I'm still not doing it. So I told him, I said, I think we're growing, because and I want to let you know, like, I don't want you to think that you have to yell to get me to do something. But by you not yelling, it's helping me see where my issues are that I've been so quick to blame you for. And now I'm like, okay, so there's something I need to work on. And so now I'm able to see it, but I couldn't see it before because I was so offended by the yelling that I wasn't able to see where my own problem and contribution to the issue was. So now I'm able to now start working on it. And so it's great. He's working on his yelling, and now I'm working on, okay, so I got some things to work on.
And the pendulum's swinging all over the place. And so it could be like, what if you let him yell? And you had these rules where you're like, I'm going to let him hold the bag of crap at the end of this discussion. He has his natural consequences. But what if you changed your thought, like, he is fighting for us instead of fighting you? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that he's not yelling at me. He's yelling because he
cares.
Right.
He actually cares. He's not the dead fish right now. And then on the other side, it's almost like give yourself like space and grace, because you have this pattern of behavior of reacting over 12 years. This pattern is like neurologically ingrained. It's the fastest, easiest way to get where you want in this discussion. And all of a sudden he's changed the rules. And you're going to throw that childlike tantrum, maybe, where you're like, oh, like, I don't know what to do because things have shifted. And that's when things start turning into growth and progress. And you're like, what just happened? I think we're growing. Yeah, it's so fun.
My husband and I used to have the same conversation over and over. He's very jealous.
Wait, you guys do that too?
Seriously?
I'm not alone.
It would be like if I went outside to get the mail in short shorts, and like the neighbor guy happened to be out there, he'd make some comment like, "Oh, did you
wear those shorts on purpose?
Did he notice your shorts?" Like I had done it on purpose. And then I would be like, "Oh my gosh, do you think I'm a whore? Like what?" Like I would take it personally, or I'd be really mad, like, how dare you?
Yeah.
Or like, I've never done anything. And it would just turn into this whole like, blah. And I was taking responsibility for his insecurities, but I also was like instantly blaming my own insecurity and like questioning my motive. It was like a lot of mess until I sat with myself after a horrible blowout like that, and I thought, okay, what do I know about me? I'm not
a
promiscuous, not a whore, and I am loyal to my husband, and what I know is that he has some insecurities that he is dealing with, and that's, like, I can help, but that's not my fault, and it's not my responsibility, but I can be a friend. Like, how would I treat a friend with that? And the narrative changed. And the next time it happened, I was able to calmly say, it sucks that you feel like that. Like, but I have never done anything to cause that. If you'd like to talk about that, I'm here. It shut the conversation down. We don't have that conversation anymore. If it kind of comes up once in a while, like I can stand my ground and we're good to go. But he gets to own all of that. And I also can be a friend to that. But I don't own it. And I think it goes both ways, right? Like you have to be willing to look at your own stuff, and you have to be willing to let them have their own stuff. It's tricky.
When you've both got some tools, you kind of get onto the game, and you can't use the tools against each other. It's like handing the book, but like times 100.
Yeah.
It's like, it's just your thoughts making you feel that way. It's like, you can't do that.
Can't use them against each other.
But you can have some tenderness for them, because it's like, whatever he or she is complaining about, it's almost like if you held up a mirror, like you said earlier, it would be like, what does that mean about me? How am I showing up insecure or, promiscuous in my relationship? And if he was genuine, he would find where he's being promiscuous and having thoughts that maybe don't serve the relationship. And all because you're wearing short shorts or whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And so anytime I start thinking negatively around anybody else, I'm like, Glenn, how's this true about you? And I'm like right back on track. It's what can I do? And so these negative thoughts start getting deprogrammed in a way. And if my wife is saying something, it's like, you're this or that or the other, then I'd be like, okay, where is this true for her? And then how can I help? Because this is actually a cry for help. She's not actually mad at me. She's mad at herself for not putting herself first. And it just becomes a game. Like, it really does become a game of like, okay, I'm going to sit with myself and figure this out. And then I'm going to hold a line and stick up for myself. And it just feels really good.
Yeah. I read a book that changed my life. It's called Why Men Love Bitches. Have you guys read that?
I bought it. My husband saw it on my nightstand. He
Best
was like,
thing ever.
what?
So I totally
What's
bought
this
it.
book?
And I covered it in paper so no one would know like what I was reading. But it gave me some verbiage that sounded sexy to hold my boundaries rather than having it sound mean
Disrespectful
or
or anything,
disrespectful. And so now sometimes if my husband says a comment that is along the lines, I can mess with it. I can be like, oh yeah, he was super hot. We like just got it on. Like I can be joking about it and also at the same time like call him out on how ridiculous his comment is rather than making it the serious like, you don't have the right to say that to me. Da, da, da. Like I can be like, oh yeah, you know me. Like I'm just taking it off for everyone. Like I don't, like that feels empowering and it's funny.
But you're also making light of it because it's, it's something. My husband and I have a similar issue with service. So, we got wrapped up in the love languages for years and it became a tit for tat.
Yeah.
And so the other day, something had happened. He had done something for me and he was kind of grumbling about it. He's like, so I'm the one that has to feed the cat again, I guess. It was something like that, and I made a joke to kind of make light of it, and it totally worked. I go, well, honey, I said, if you're not going to do it with love in your heart or joy, then don't worry about it. Don't do it at all. And then he was like, oh. And then he fed the cat, and because and it's true. It's like just do it because you want to feed the cat. I'm not making you. Like I'll go ahead and feed the cat if that's the case. But I also didn't get wrapped up into the feelings I used to have before of like, oh no, baby, I can feed the cat. I'm sorry that you got the feeling that I was making you, or whatever. The
people pleasing.
The people pleasing that I normally did. I'm like, make a joke out of it. You don't have to feed the cat. We're good. I love you.
Right.
All it.
Do you think that our confidence gives them more confidence?
It's a really fun question.
If we do it, I guess, in a respectful way, I mean.
I think it's going to challenge him. It's going to make him uncomfortable. And if the discomfort is, big enough, he will change. So when I'm coaching businesses, the terminology is get the bad eggs off the bus by making their life uncomfortable, raising the job expectations and standards and the job description, and they're going to get right off the bus. You won't even have to pay them unemployment. You know what I mean? And so a marriage is a little bit different. Like maybe we don't want them to get off the bus, but we want them to do anything else. And so, if they see that you're not messing around, and if you can do it with a smiling, flirty face, he's going to be like, daggum. So now instead of turning the post office experience into, he was great, he's a really good kisser, like, it'd be like, you like it. Like, turn it back on him. And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, my wife goes to the gym, and I'm like, who's this Jim guy? Like, you've been spending a lot of time with Jim. And I'm just constantly flirting with her. I'm constantly, like, slapping her on the butt and flirting, and everything she says, if there's an innuendo in there, I'm like constantly putting the flirt on. Everything's a hot date, and it just builds that desire, and it makes it fun that we're doing life together and we're doing hard things. And there's stuff that's going to come up that kind of stinks, but we can meet up and
It's part
be
of that
light
roller
about
coaster.
it. Yeah.
Okay, so I have this big question. For those of us who want our husbands to meet you,
Sure.
work with you, or whatever, obviously we've learned that we can't give them a book and say, hey, read this, right?
Right.
You should work with this guy.
We can't set up the consultation
Right.
between you and our husbands.
Right,
It doesn't work very well when you do.
right.
Because it has your credit card on it, and
Right.
it's like, that's not my money, it's my wife's money.
Right.
It's got to be him, but
So what are some suggestions for how we can follow you and how maybe we can somehow get our husbands to learn about you too?
Sure. So I've got my first 5 tips that I can share with you. We can put it in the show notes or whatever, where it's like, text brave to my number and they'll automatically get it. And they're not going to get bombarded by stuff and things, but in that list, the last one is a podcast episode where I'm going to speak directly to them and I'm going to say, look, I've been around salons, family life school, and life coach school. Do you want to know what your wife really wants and why? Come listen to this episode.
So wait, if we give them, and if we put in the show notes a
phone number.
a phone number,
Brave.
the wives can text Brave, and you'll give them the 5
I'll
tips
give
on
them
how to
the
get
first 5 tips. I've got lots of them.
for how to get their husbands
On board with coaching and making
Okay.
progress.
That's great.
Okay,
Yep.
great. It's not going to text the husband's phone.
No. No.
You're like, who is this Glenn?
Who is this? Save it as Virginia or whatever her name is. So yeah, that would be my first tip.
That's great.
But the reality is we just want to create hope and curiosity and excitement that, look, you want to make progress over here, and if you date your wife and play in some discomfort, you can have a lot of fun in this marriage. Just because, in the community we live in, just because you got married in a certain building with a certain piece of paper does not guarantee that you don't have to do any more work. Like, you providing is not enough.
Yep.
And why would you want to just shelf that? Like, there is so much fun to be had there, and guys are missing out on it, is essentially my argument. So if we can make progress in these other areas and then bridge back to the gals, it's like I can do this. So I do men's retreats.
I know, we haven't mentioned
Yeah.
that. My nickname for you has been Get Out There Boy. We
I
met on
know.
Instagram. That's how.
I need to make some shirts and some scarves, right?
Yeah, no, you do what I do, but for men. And I've had tons of
Yeah.
wives have like, hey, we need something for your husbands. When are we going to invite our husbands
Yeah.
along? And I'm like, we'll do like a couples thing
Yeah.
once a year.
But that might be a way to get the husbands to, to like even be introduced to it. It's like,
Commingle.
we're doing this co-ed thing.
I know, we
Right,
need to team
right.
up
We
after
should.
the baby.
And what I do on those
Yeah,
retreats
tell us.
is we do something physical. I love mountain biking, and I'll take them out on a trail and let them fail, and I'll show them a few things, and they're like, wow. Like, if you load the suspension and pedal and all the things, it gets fun. We blow crap up, we eat lots of food, and we literally do very little coaching. We do tactical gun stuff. And the intent there is to show men, hey, there's guys just like you who maybe make a ton of money or normal money, and they have the same problems that you have. And at some point in the trip, it usually like all comes out. Like, we've gone through some hard stuff, we've laughed, we've cooked, and you
But
make
you don't
fart
sit
jokes,
down
whatever.
and day one be like, hey guys, unload.
Let's
Let's
talk about our
therapize.
Let's talk about our
Feelings.
feelings. No,
Yeah.
it's shoulder
Yeah.
to shoulder time is what I've learned that men
Adventure.
prefer to like, not
Yeah.
face to face. It's shoulder to
Right.
shoulder.
Absolutely. And so those trips are honestly, if I break even on them, I'm happy. So they're not expensive. Instagram, it's your wingman. GlenLovelace.com is the website. They can schedule a call right there. But yeah, there's lots of room for experiencing life and making progress, even if it's not vocation, money. It just gets so old.
And there's so much,
Relationships.
why the money? There's a reason why you want to make money. There's things you want to make money for. And then there's things that happened in your past that led you to believe that you have to make money. So I think that,
Where's the end?
there's all sorts of
Yeah.
stuff on the other side, I think,
Yeah.
of that word in the
Yeah.
first place. That's powerful.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
I'm so glad you
Absolutely.
came. We could talk forever.
I've
really.
got hours. we just scratched the surface,
Yeah.
honestly. And I'm in Texas last week speaking to 2,000 gals, and I told them what I do, and it was the funnest experience because all the oxygen in the air left, and it's like,
Where have you been?
wow, where have you been? and they're like, you're a genius, this is amazing. And so I hope guys realize that it doesn't have to be alpha, but you can be a man and you can be confident in your feelings, and the volume of your life will expand by your ability to feel all that. And I'll say one more thing. I kind of have this idea of being stoic, where emotions don't come out. But the reality is I want to feel every emotion and extreme magnitudes, but not let it dictate the outcome that I'm trying to produce. So I want to feel everything and still get exactly what I want on the other side. And to me, like, that's being stoic, that's being manly, that's being masculine. And we can do it in a healthy way that supports these gals who are like deep sea diving, swimming with sharks. So that's the invitation. I know your audience is mostly gals, but I would say there is hope. Like, keep going, keep nurturing and feeding, and just live, like really live and love, and help him be uncomfortable.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Love it.
Perfect show for that word,
I know,
right?
So good.
All right, that's a wrap for this episode of The Brave Talk Show. If you are watching us on YouTube, there are more episodes that you will love on the window to the right, and we will see you on the other side.
Bye.
I have some questions for